Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. I've got Nutmeg here, fresh off of his early afternoon nap, so he might be a little groggy still. I've got some treats for him just to keep him happy, just in case. But today I wanted to give you an update on my Anthurium. And I wasn't planning on doing this video, but maybe a couple months ago now, I did a video about my Anthurium, ranking them from what my opinion was most to least difficult. And I was not expecting everyone to be so invested in my Anthurium. I was just talking about how I'm grateful that they're here, that they're growing, that they're alive, just happy to have them in general. And I wasn't expecting everyone to be so invested in how they're doing and giving really nice tips, because I accept that I live in a drier climate, but people were like, well, if you do this, if you do that, you can get them to grow without having a lot of these damaged leaves and whatnot. So I followed your advice and I have focused more on making my Anthurium happier. I've got almost all of them fertilized. I've been watering them more. So I wanted to give a little bit of update just because it was something that you all seem to be invested in as well. So I will start with some happy growth updates for a couple of my smaller Anthurium seedlings. The first is my Dock Block F2 crossed with Silver Blush. This is one of my top favorite Anthurium in the entire collection that I have. It is working on a tiny new baby leaf in here. If you can see it, there it is. It's a bit easier to see. It grows pretty steadily. This leaf is kind of growing backwards right now toward the light, so I might have to rotate it. Should have to water it soon. I don't have to water this one too often because it is grown in one of those Target greenhouses that were all the rage a few years ago. So not too much to report. This one has never really been much of a problem anyway, just because I'm growing it in that greenhouse. It's shut most of the time, so it's pretty high humidity. And it's just overall doing really well for me. Also have this next one, Dock Block F2, crossed with Red Crystal. This one has been a little bit more challenging. It just never was the healthiest plant to begin with. In retrospect, I probably could have picked out a better looking seedling, but we're getting there. We are making strides with it. It has this adorable new baby leaf on it, and all of the old leaves that weren't doing as well are gone at this point. It's why it has less leaves than the Silver Blush Hybrid here. So it's just a little bit slower, and I'm totally willing to accept that. It's growing in that Target greenhouse, higher humidity situation as well. I think I'm at the point with these two little guys where I could probably fertilize them. I just always get nervous fertilizing plants when they're super small, but I think I've had them for long enough that it wouldn't hurt. I use a slow release fertilizer anyway, so I don't really think that's going to be too much of a problem. I also have a couple of Anthurium that have been resigned to the crop box, I guess you could say. So this one is actually different than the other one I have. I thought it was the same. So this is a Dock Block Zara Michelle crossed with Red Crystallinum. This is all I have left of the plant. It did not do very well when I first brought it home. It was very unhappy with life in general, and it sort of went down to just one leaf that was this leaf, very curled up and wilted. And I took a look inside of the pot and it had no roots, just no roots left. It was so unhappy with me. So I decided to put it in this super tiny, very small cup, and I put it in a prop box, and it did nothing for probably 6 months. I don't even know if I showed this in my video about Anthurium because I had just written it off as a dead plant. I have a lot of plants that go into a prop box and they are forgotten about for a very long time. And this was one of them. Until maybe a month ago, I noticed little root nubs coming out. I was so happy. I was like, I saved this plant. So if you can see, there's two little roots coming out of the bottom of the nodes there. And we'll just see what happens from there. This is the most activity this plant has given me ever, other than almost dying. So I'm just gonna go with it. Just gonna be happy about it, happy that it's alive, and maybe one day, years from now, it can graduate from the prop box. But I am very happy that I have been able to successfully rehab an Anthurium and that has encouraged me to try and rehab my poor little baby Villaneurum. This one got really sad all the way down to one leaf. It has recently joined the prop box. I think I might also take it out of here, give it a completely new moss, leca layer at the bottom because that seems to work really well for me. And I did notice it has a new growth point in here. You can see that little lime green growth point sticking out. So that is something. It has the one sad leaf left. These were leaves. So we'll see. I have my fingers crossed for it. I don't want to give up on it yet because I really like Villaneurum. I'm just hoping that I can see more positive progress with this one like I have with so many other Anthurium. But until then, it's going to go in the prop box and be forgotten about for a while. And that's fine because with Anthurium, they don't like to dry out, and in the prop box, they don't dry out very quickly. So all in all, I think that's going to be a good situation for rehabbing an Anthurium like this. It holds more humidity in the prop box than even my Target greenhouses. You don't see like the condensation on the edges of it where you do with the prop box. So I know it's gonna be in good hands in there for a while. I might have to chop off some dead roots. I have to reroot it a bit, but totally okay with that. I have a plant that I'm going to consider a win, even if maybe it doesn't really look like it at the moment. But this is my favorite. This is the Queen Anthurium, and she has come such a long way since she was a little baby seedling, maybe smaller than this when I got her. Last time we talked, I think about Anthurium. This was the new leaf, and I think it was hardened off at that point, but she really hadn't done anything for a while. And then she gave me this beautiful leaf, with the exception of the hole in it. And I don't really know how this happened because I didn't touch the leaf at all, and it just ripped. I kept her very well watered, and it just happened. You know, I feel like Anthurium leaves are so fragile that no matter what I do, this is bound to happen, no matter what. And that's okay. Like, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm fine with it. I still think she's a gorgeous plant. I love the long strappy leaves. I want to get her in a bigger pot in the near future because I am starting to see roots at the bottom here. And then I can maybe get her in, like, I want almost a tall glass vase so that the leaves can hang down and they're not touching things all the time. That is the one issue that I have in this potting situation with this plant, but I'm happy with it. I feel like some of you might say, well, no, you can avoid that by doing this, and that's fine. I will try anything just to make it look like this all the time, but I'm not gonna be mad at it because it did grow a whole new leaf. It is bigger, it's more mature, and I'm just gonna celebrate that as a win. Next up, I have the Anthurium that is certifiably doing the worst, and I don't know why. So maybe you guys can tell me, but that is my Pap Hybrid, and that's what it looks like. Oh, I don't know what happened because this was growing with my queen in my soccer greenhouse, with the Queen Anthurium, and with my one from Equigenera, the hybrid I have. Same care. They get watered, they get fertilizer, same light, same living situation, and it had 2 leaves, I think, when I showed it off the first time. Went down to 1, and that 1 is just crisp. So, you know, it is what it is. The plant is still alive in here. The roots look fine. Like, they're a little dried out, but they're thick, so I don't know. They're green. There's nothing rotted. So I don't know. I might try, I've never done this before, but I might try turning it into nodes and rehabbing it that way, because I'm at the point where it's gonna either die or live, and that's fine. I've accepted that, and I'm not gonna invest too much energy into it if it wants to be unhappy, because all my other Anthurium are doing great. That's honestly the worst one. So I figured I'll just get that out of the way before we move into my bigger Anthurium, which I'm very excited about. But I don't know what to do with that one anymore, and I'm not gonna waste any energy caring about it. So that's just that at this point. Next up, I have some of my bigger Anthurium, and I'll start with this one. This one was not doing well before. That was the new leaf that it gave me, and a lot of the advice that I got said that it's probably due to inconsistent or underwatering, which is why the leaf came out very deformed. So the leaf has hardened off at this point. It still looks messed up, obviously. I have kept up with watering it a little bit better, and I'm thinking maybe there is a little slight hint of new growth down here. That's really all I have to add with it. Not too much else going on since we talked about this plant. A little bit of yellowing on this leaf, but that's pretty much it here. Next, I have a plant that is actively growing with a cute new leaf growing here. That is my Zara Michelle crossed with Dock Block F2. This has been a more reliable grower for me with not too much leaf damage until the leaves get older, then they get a bit crispy. But I've noticed we have put a halt to some of it with more consistent watering. We're still gonna get some around the edges, but I did buy this as a bigger plant instead of a seedling, so I think it is having a tougher time acclimating to my conditions versus some of the others that I bought as smaller plants. And that's totally okay. Like I said, I've been keeping up with watering a bit better. I gave it this stake because it was starting to lean quite a bit. There's just a lot of nodes down in here. So with the extra support, with the stake, with better watering and fertilizer, it is putting out a nice new leaf. The emergent leaf color is pretty cool to look at. It's this dark crimson, and it should show its true colors hopefully soon. It looks a little wonky right now. Just the leaf to petiole ratio is not the best, but hopefully it'll do better soon with that, just because I have it in a more stable environment, stable place where it's growing right now. Nutmeg is off. I think a treat fell, so I'll just say goodbye to him. And then I have one that has been very nice to see right now. That is my Crystallinum and Ace of Spades hybrid. This new leaf is fantastic. I love to see it. It is gorgeous. It is a beautiful plant. This is it. This makes me so happy because this is the first leaf that I've gotten from it. I think I bought this the day I took home saffron, actually. So that was November of last year. This is one of my last plant purchases in person, if not the last one in 2023. So it had to sort of endure the winter before it decided it wanted to grow. And nutmeg did ruin this leaf. He did knock it over, but that's okay because the new leaf is fine. And that's what I care about right now. And it's coming in really nice. I really haven't had much in the way of browning with this plant so far, just a little bit on this leaf here. So it's been very easygoing. I've done a really good job of keeping it well watered. I did add a little bit of fertilizer, but I might add more because I'm thinking about doing a repot soon, just because this pot is pretty small for the size of the plant. But other than that, it is doing so well, and that makes me really happy. I almost forgot about this one because I do grow it away from all of my other Anthurium, but I do have my Crystallinum. It hasn't done much, but I did realize I was significantly underwatering it, which is probably what led to a lot of the issues with the leaves when they were coming in damaged. I have done a lot better recently about keeping it well watered, and I did notice there's a slight new growth point peeking out, which I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it's pink, it's in there. Maybe something will happen with that because I haven't gotten a leaf out of this one yet this year. Maybe with spring, a lot of my plants are waking up, my Hoyas are waking up. Maybe this one will wake up too, I hope so. I love the combo of this plant with this pot. I just think it works really well with an Anthurium that likes to lean a little bit. The leaves can hang over it, and with it being a tall pot, it has room to do so without touching any surface, which is sort of what gave me the inspiration for my Queen Anthurium. I want it to be in a taller pot like this so that the leaves can dangle better. But either way, this plant is very forgiving. Even with the ripped leaves, I still love it so much because this was the first Anthurium that I grew from a seedling to a mature plant. At this point, I don't think I would consider this a seedling at all. We are coming on almost 2 years with this plant. I can't believe it. I really can't. There was a time when I didn't think I'd ever own an Anthurium. So having one for almost 2 years that is still alive, it is relatively healthy, it's relatively happy. I just need to see if giving that extra boost of care is really gonna send this plant over the edge to being truly a gorgeous plant. But either way, I still love it. Finally, I've got a plant that I've shown off a little bit recently, and that is my Bessier Affinity and Magnificum Hybrid. The new leaf has started to harden off and it is so much bigger than I thought it would be. It is gorgeous, not a flaw in sight, and I can't get over it. I really can't. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. This is everything I have wanted and more in an Anthurium. I have still yet to repot it, which is crazy considering I've owned this plant for 10 months, but it just doesn't seem super root bound at the moment, and it's happily growing. So I think I'll wait. I'll give it its due time. It seems really happy. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to do anything to mess this up because this plant is just, it's making me feel something. I just feel so happy about it. I am so proud that I was able to grow an Anthurium leaf so perfectly. There is not a flaw in sight on this plant, and I couldn't be happier about it right now. It is incredible. It's everything that I can imagine it could be. And I hope you guys feel the same way too, because this is absolutely gorgeous. I am a little sad that it never came in quite as pink as this leaf did, but maybe that's just something that goes away when it matures. I don't know. I'm hoping that it's gonna live up to the Magnificum name either way and just put out massive leaves, because I want giant plants so badly. I would kill for giant plants. And if I could have healthy giant Anthurium, that would just be peak houseplant ownership for me. So maybe this plant will do it for me. Fingers crossed. Hopefully. I'm certainly going to try my best, and this one seems like the most likely candidate so far. So that is it for this Anthurium update. I hope you enjoyed watching all the updates about my entire Anthurium collection, and I'm so appreciative of all the advice you gave me on my last Anthurium video. I've really been taking it to heart, and I have noticed a significant difference with some of these plants. They're doing so much better. I really think it was mainly a watering issue, but adding fertilizer never hurts, honestly, especially with a slow release. So I feel like I can't go wrong, and it's only going to be up from here with Anthurium, which is really great because I enjoy them a lot, and I never realized how much I would, but I really like collecting them, and I want to move more in the direction of collecting them if I can get this care down a little bit better. And I think I am. I think I'm doing a pretty good job. So maybe this year I'll go ahead and buy a few more. We'll see. But if you like this video, make sure to give Nutmeg and I here a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.